Good evening. My name is Esther Zoldan, and on behalf of ADATH Team Sisterhood, I would like to welcome you all to our program this evening, a tribute to Maxine Rosenblatt. Tonight, we are honoring Maxine with our program, Healthy Mind, Healthy Body, Healthy Soul. Anyone who knew Maxine knows that she was a wonderful woman with an infectious optimism and a kind word for all. She was always ready to lend a hand and did so with a smile. Last April, I met Maxine walking her dog around Hampstead. She confided in me that she really wanted to start the sisterhood up again, as it had been dormant for the last couple of years. She had a project in mind to collect recipes for the upcoming holiday of Shavuot. She spearheaded this project, reached out to many of us for recipes, and eventually put together a recipe book that was shared with all our members. It was also shared with all of you who registered for this evening's program. After that project, the sisterhood started meeting regularly to plan activities and events. Maxine was truly the spark that reignited our group. We acknowledge her devotion and we miss her deeply. It is really thanks to her that Team Sisterhood is now thriving with many different events, activities, and fundraisers. Now, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening's program, Amanda Shapiro. Amanda is a cancer survivor who travels the world sharing her story of divine providence and coming back to Judaism. She is also a certified Kala teacher and mikveh attendant. Amanda is all about living a spiritual and healthy lifestyle. If you'd like to follow Amanda's journey, you can do so on Instagram at Amanda Spiro Shares. We're so lucky to have Amanda tonight, as she also has a personal connection to the Rosenblatt family. I hope you will find this evening informative and inspirational. And now I would like to turn it over to our moderator, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Esther. Shavua Tov, everybody. It is truly an honor and privilege for me to be able to share a few words about the late Maxine Rosenblatt. Anytime I would see her, she was so genuinely happy to see me and always thanked me so much for hosting Stefanie at my house for Shabbos. She was always so intrigued by my religious lifestyle and loved to ask me questions about a host of different things that interest her. 2 summers ago, I started walking daily in Hampstead Park, and I would see her exercising each and every day and became her little cheerleader, encouraging her to keep going. Together with her husband, Marvin, she was such a generous woman. They never hesitated to generously support all the causes I was connected to, and always gave with a smile and without a moment's hesitation. Maxine was a first lady at the sisterhood at ADATH and got involved to support her husband and to be able to make her own personal mark. At Maxine's last sisterhood event, she asked me to share my personal story. She was so supportive and made sure that so many people came to listen. I know she is truly missed. As a Lubavitcher Rebbe would always remind us, the souls of our loved ones can be found in the world even after their passing, and in some respects in an even deeper way. When we tap into our own souls, our neshama, we can connect to them without the natural constraints of the physical and material world. Stefanie knows that I have such a special place for her and her family in my heart. I met her when I was undergoing treatment for cancer and was raising money for the hospital where I was being treated. At the time, I didn't know Stefanie, but she reached out to me and wanted to support my cause and get involved. It was such a breath of fresh air and so touching to receive support from a stranger who genuinely seemed to care about what I was going through. Years later, when I was working at the Friendship Circle and one of my jobs was to find volunteers, I automatically thought of Stefanie, who of course was happy to truly get involved. She joined us for a Shabbaton, and we spoke the entire night and truly connected. After that, we became closer and closer. Stefanie is a true gem who, as a professional fundraiser, commits her life to helping good causes. I'll never forget the time she came to pick up something in my house, and we ended up chatting and catching up. Little did I know that Jeff was waiting in the car. He knocked on the door and came in and walked in and said hello. He couldn't get over the smells coming from the kitchen as it was Erev Sukkot. He very confidently asked, "What time is dinner? And what time should I join you?" Since then, they have become regulars at our Shabbos and holiday table, and we always look forward to spending time together. I'm still in so much awe of Stefanie and how she's been dealing and coping with everything she's gone through in such a short period of time. I'm truly inspired by her inner strength and graceful way of accepting her lot. I know her mother's looking down and having so much nachas from you. May her neshama have an aliyah on high. Stefanie.
Thank you, Amanda, my dear friend. Good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking you all for being here with me and my family to honor my beloved mother, while at the same time learning how to practice healthy living, mind, body, and soul, something my mom was always striving for. For those of you who do not know, my mother got involved with the Adath Sisterhood when my father became president in 2018. At the time, he had observed that the sisterhood was not very active, and as president, he wanted to revitalize this wonderful group of women and felt that my mom, as first lady of the shul, with her warm and welcoming personality, would be ideal to take on this role. At first, my mother was reluctant to get involved. However, it did not take long for her to rise to the challenge with my father's support and encouragement. He gave her the groundwork and she ran with it and made it her own. She began by putting a message in the Adath Holiday Bulletin announcing that the sisterhood was looking for members of all ages to get involved and to embrace sisterhood, an essential part of shul activity. The first project my mom undertook was a recipe book that she put together for Shavuot. She reached out personally to as many women as she could think of in order to make everyone feel included in this initiative. At the time this book was being put together, I was already in my third trimester, and I remember her calling and telling me about the project and asking if she could include my name on one of the recipes. She wanted me to be a part of the endeavor, and I recall her saying how excited she was that I could participate. My mom had a lot of pride in everything she did, and this being no different, she wanted to produce something that was elegant, visually appealing, easily accessible, with traditional recipes that members would want to make for their own families. To do this, she spent countless hours perfecting the presentation until she was satisfied. The other project that my mom was very much enjoyed working on was a virtual cooking demonstration that she put together with Francine Gould for Rosh Hashanah. In speaking with my dad, he said that my mother was very proud of taking on this endeavor. Her priority was making sure that Francine felt comfortable and had everything she needed in order to present her recipes. She also wanted to choose someone she felt would be a good moderator for this event. She reached out to Sheila Essor, who she had befriended when my parents joined Sheila and the other Adath members to help serve meals to underprivileged adults at Le Café. Together with Sheila and Francine, my mom carefully organized the event that was very much enjoyed and appreciated by all those who attended. Regardless of the event or program, what was always most important to my mother was that everyone got to enjoy themselves and was able to take something positive away from every experience. She cared more about others and their enjoyment than she did about herself, always making sure that everyone felt included and comfortable. I believe this is what made her such a wonderful representative of sisterhood, a role which she assumed proudly. I know if my mother was still with us today, she would be very proud of the event that our committee has put together this evening, as health and wellness were very important to her. I want to thank Marcy and the committee for welcoming me into the Adath Sisterhood and allowing me to be part of this planning this wonderful program that I hope that you will all enjoy. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Stefanie. So I'm going to introduce Rachel now, and everyone could write on the chat if anyone has any questions for both of Rachel as well as Karen. So I actually met Rachel on Zoom at the beginning of the pandemic, as we were both part of a panel for a Hebrew Academy event. And once again, our paths have crossed tonight. Dr. Rachel Godman received her PhD in clinical psychology from St. John's University, New York. She has more than 20 years of experience in providing psychotherapy and psychological assessment to a variety of populations. She was a clinical assistant professor of psychiatry at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York, a staff psychologist at St. Mary's Hospital here in Montreal, and is a staff member and research consultant in the Alzheimer's Risk Assessment Clinic at the Jewish General Hospital. She was trained in a number of specialized treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder after 9/11 while living in New York City. She's conducted research on helping caregivers deal with the stress of taking care of people with Alzheimer's disease and lectures extensively on memory wellness. She is a registered psychologist and a member of l'Ordre des Psychologues de Québec. In addition to all her amazing qualifications, Rachel is a wife and mother of 3 and a truly wonderful person who is deeply involved in the Jewish community. Without further ado, Rachel. No one could hear you. Okay.
I got it.
Ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and good evening, everybody. First, let me say that although I did not know Maxine Rosenblatt, Zichrona Livracha, very well, our family has a close relationship with Stefanie's cousins, Jason and Rachel, as Jason is one of my husband's oldest friends. It is an honor to speak in your mother's memory, Stefanie, and I have heard wonderful things about her, and I'm proud to be a tiny part of helping her legacy continue. In thinking about the title of this evening's program, Healthy Mind, Healthy Body, Healthy Soul, despite the fact that I think I'm here to talk about the healthy mind part, it is hard to separate out these 3 factors, as they must be deeply intertwined for our best mental and emotional health, as you will see in my very brief overview of stress today. Just to be clear, we're talking about a huge issue in about 10 minutes. I want to share with you the definition of stress. Stress is the non-specific response of your body to any demands placed on it by external stimuli. For example, a person, place, or situation. Stress is not the demands that are put on the body by external stimuli, but instead your body's response to those demands. Now, how is this different from anxiety? Anxiety is a person's specific reaction to stress. Its origin is internal. Anxiety is typically characterized by a persistent feeling of apprehension or dread in situations that are not actually threatening. Unlike stress, anxiety persists even after a concern has passed. In more severe cases, anxiety can escalate into an anxiety disorder, and this is the most common mental health problem that we see in North America today, I would say especially since the pandemic started. You may not be able to control the demands that are placed on you, but you can control your response to those demands, and we will talk about how to do that very briefly later on. The most well-known stress response that you likely have heard about is the fight or flight response. And recently, this was actually changed with new research to now be called the fight or flight or freeze response. We use a body designed for the physical stresses of a caveman to face mental stresses of the 21st century. Let's talk just a little bit about some physical symptoms of stress. Rapid pulse, perspiration, pounding heart, headache, insomnia, muscle tension, stomach problems, recurrent colds, physical exhaustion, appetite changes, weight loss or gain, cold hands, and what's known as cotton mouth or a dry mouth. I'm sure that some of you have experienced some of those symptoms during that time when you feel a little bit stressed or anxious. We do not have enough time today, obviously, to get into all the causes for stress and the complicated role of technology and other changes in our world that lead to increased stress. But let's just say that we make more decisions in just one day than our great-grandparents made in 1 year. Are you aware of your own stress indicators? If you think about how you know if someone else is stressed, what your spouse or your child or a friend look like or start acting like, then you can start figuring out what your indicators are. They fall into different categories: emotional, behavioral, physical. Do you know if you are stress hardy? It's characterized by 3 C's. Commitment, you believe what you do has value. Control, you are in control of your life. And challenge, you see stress in life as a challenge, not a roadblock. You find opportunities in situations that others miss. I want to talk a little about stress management. What is stress management? The first step in managing stress is recognition, or acknowledging that you are feeling something. So you want to stop, reflect by understanding your own triggers and your signs of stress or anxiety, and rethink the situation. We'll get to this soon. You want to calm down physically and use these stress management techniques. Obviously, we do not have enough time to go into each one, but each one can play an important role. It does not really matter what you do. There's no specific thing that you must do, but really that you have a stress management routine that you are using on a regular basis, preventatively, and not just in the moment when you are in crisis. Just like we know so much about prevention from a physical health perspective, even if we're not all so good about enacting it, we all know we're supposed to go to the doctor once a year, and we're supposed to eat well, and we're supposed to exercise and brush our teeth. We're not so good about prevention from a mental health perspective. And I would suggest that we want to change the way we think about that. Here are some stress management techniques. Deep breathing, I'm going to go into that a little bit. Regular physical exercise, the recommendation is 3 to 4 times per week for 30 to 40 minutes each. Progressive deep muscle relaxation, which essentially means tightening and releasing all the muscle groups in your body, starting from the top to the bottom or vice versa. Mindfulness, the concept of being in the present moment without judgment. I'm not going to get into this one. I'm going to leave it to Karen to deeply explore and explain this. Visual imagery, thought stopping, yoga, humor, and prayer, which is very important in many of our daily lives. In terms of deep breathing, I just want to explain a little bit because it's an important one and easy to do on a day-to-day basis. Firstly, the benefits of it are that it's quick and convenient. It produces measurable changes within 60 seconds. It's an unusual function. It's voluntary and involuntary. Our normal breathing is shallow and not very relaxing. And with deep breathing, we actually take in 10 times more air, more oxygen, leads to a better air exchange. And finally, deep breathing turns on our relaxation response by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. And just to explain the way to do this, although I don't have time to actually practice with you, which I wish I did, we call it diaphragmatic breathing. We're breathing into our diaphragms, which is like a little balloon that's hidden behind your stomach. And so we inhale through the nose, taking in a normal breath to about a count of 4. And if you put your hands on your stomach, as you're breathing in, you should feel your stomach rise. Hold it for a second, and then you exhale very, very slowly through your mouth, letting that air out as slowly as you can until you feel just a little uncomfortable, but certainly don't want anybody to feel that they're choking. I can't get into all of it, but really, if you were to try that, you might find just an actual physiological relaxation response that sometimes people feel as if they're going to fall asleep. Now, Marcy had really wanted me to talk about reframing your thinking, so I'm going to focus on that now. William Shakespeare said, "There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." I often explain to my clients that it is not about positive thinking, although positive thinking is wonderful. It's more about seeing, instead of the glass half full rather than half empty, it's just noticing that there's any water in the glass at all. This is what we call rational thinking. And we want to start exploring, does the thought that we're having even make sense? Is it working for us? If it's not, do we have to replace it with an alternative, more rational thought? Now, you are doomed to have thinking errors by virtue of being human. we have what's called a negativity bias. This is across the board. This does not mean that we're bad people or that we're negative thinkers, but this is how our brain works. If something is going on, we automatically kind of see the negative side rather than the positive side. That is not to say that there are not people who we think of that are hugely positive and wonderful and able to see all the good in the world. This is just from a scientific basis what has been proven. And we have to fight that urge and change the way our brain works to think a little bit differently. So if that is the case, can you really change the way that you think? The answer is a resounding yes. We can learn to reframe our thinking. The steps in doing this are: 1, recognizing the irrational thought; 2, identifying the error in that thought; 3, constructing a healthier thought; and then 4, practice, practice, practice. You want to keep your stress in perspective by giving yourself a break from the problem or the situation. You can walk away, find something to laugh about in the situation. Now, especially during COVID recently, we need to acknowledge that there are many things that are hard, that are objectively negative. And I don't want to say that, God forbid, somebody being sick or dying or losing their job or having some other traumatic event is just in your head. It is not. But our brain often tricks us to think that something is excessively negative. It's worse than than it actually is. And again, that is not to say it's not really terrible. But what happens is we start to see things in an exaggerated way and don't even realize it. If you start to listen to the language that you use, even in your own head, in talking to yourself, you may notice that you're saying a lot of things that are black and white, or this is never going to happen, or I'm never going to be able to do that, or this always happens to me. So you can watch your language. But I think it's very important for us to be kind to ourselves. Focus on what you can do instead of what you cannot do during this crisis. Try to enjoy things that you don't usually have time to do, but there's no pressure to be super productive. I remember, I'll just give a little anecdote, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was watching everybody on social media posting about all the new hobbies that they had done. And this person learned how to bake sourdough, and this person was reorganizing their whole house, and this person was, redecorating and making art like they had never painted before. And here I was, swamped in work, and I'm not complaining, but I did not try anything new and was not being more productive than before from that perspective. And I really started to feel bad. And then I started to see a lot of people feeling the same way. And I think it's important, just as a point during the pandemic, to say to everybody, yes, we're encouraging you to keep busy, to do things to distract yourself, to do things that cognitively engage you and socially engage you as much as possible, but also to remember, you don't have to solve the world's problems, and you don't have to open up a new bakery, and you don't have to be Picasso, and it's okay just to be you. And if you just sit in your house and enjoy yourself and, be productive, but not create something new, that's also okay. So I just want to review and then give time for a few questions. I call them the 7 steps to stress mastery. Number 1, develop an awareness of stress and your stress symptoms. Number 2, figure out exactly what's bugging you. Number 3, check for underlying causes. Is it disorganization, relationship problems, otherwise? Number 4, take control of what you can and accept what you cannot. Number 5, reframe and rethink, see things in a different, more rational light. Number 6, relax and recreate. And number 7, make stress management a habit. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today in memory of Maxine Rosenblatt, Zichrona Livracha, and happy to take a couple of questions.
Thank you so much. I'm sure everything you said really resonated with everyone listening. It certainly did with me. I'm just looking. I don't see any questions. One second. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Question number 1. Do you think that people are less resilient today? And I think a typo. So do you think that people are less resilient today?
I don't think that people are less resilient. I understand when we think about how this impacts on anxiety. Okay, so I think globally people are still very resilient. What I want to mention just in the context of this is that we are going to be having our 3rd annual community mental health Shabbat from May 6th to 9th, 2021. And the ADAF, as well as TBDJ, all the local shuls and shuls across North America are going to be dedicating that Shabbat to mental health. And we will be having virtual events that are available on Thursday evening and Friday for the high school kids and on Sunday morning. And the reason I'm mentioning this now, aside from letting you know, is that the topic is on resilience. So I really believe across the board that people are resilient. I think that in terms of anxiety, yes, you're right, Dr. Stagg, I think that's who it was. We are seeing an increasing amount of anxiety. I know there are questions about how much technology is having an impact on that because we are so much more aware of what's going on in the world, and especially kids and teenagers are being impacted every day, every moment of every day by technology and news and information. I do not want to be the person who bashes technology and everyone comes and says, oh, you said technology is bad. Absolutely not. There's wonderful things about technology, but I do think that we are seeing an increasing amount of anxiety. And I wonder if that's just because we have a greater awareness across the world of kind of what people are feeling. And it can lead to kind of a global feeling together of everybody suffering together rather than when people maybe suffered more silently, which I'm not saying silent suffering is good.
Okay. Do you have any tips for insomnia when our mind doesn't let us fall asleep?
That's an excellent question and not a quick one to answer, but I'll try. You can look up progressive deep muscle relaxation online. There are thousands of YouTube videos, as well as mindfulness meditation that you can use to help you to fall asleep. I will say in terms of sleep hygiene, there are a few things that should be looked at. Firstly, caffeine intake, not exercising too close to bed, but on the other hand, exercise in general is very helpful for sleep. Not just blue light, but exposure to electronics within about 30 to 60 minutes before going to bed. What we forget is that we're very good at knowing that when we have babies, that we're supposed to train babies and young children to go to sleep. And then we think that as older kids and adults, we're just supposed to know how to do that. But in fact, your brain, just like a baby, needs to be told the message, it's time to slow down now. It's time to go to sleep. You can't just stay watching, working, doing whatever, and then bam, you're going to go to sleep while you're lying down. No, it's not going to happen. So what you need to do is set aside some sort of bedtime routine. It's different for everybody. Like I said, it could be listening to calm music, mindfulness meditation, a progressive deep muscle relaxation exercise. You could be listening to a podcast. You could be reading, of course. But you want to have something where you're giving yourself the message, this is my bedtime routine. And I will say as well, your bedroom should not be used for anything other than sleep and intimacy. And you should not be watching TV in your room. You should not be working in your room. You want your bed to be associated with relaxation and.
Okay, great. I think also people were suggesting if it's possible, your 7 steps, which were amazing, if it was possible for you to write them out maybe.
Sure.
Or maybe to send it out. Yeah, that would be great.
I can send that slide.
Okay, perfect.
Marcy to share if that works.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I loved everything you said. It was great. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing Karen now. So when Stefanie asked me if I knew anyone who was into mindfulness and yoga, I was so excited to introduce her to Karen Gozlan, who is a personal friend and someone who inspires me and many others on a regular basis. Karen has been practicing yoga for 25 years, as well as a certified yoga instructor for the past 15. She teaches meditation, exploration of the emotions, finding inner balance and strength in our bodies, mind, heart, and souls. She has a very unique perspective on understanding the power of our bodies and the connection between body and soul. Before anything, she's a mother of 8, recently becoming a grandmother for the first time. Karen is such an open-minded person with a huge heart and a beautiful open home. It is my honor to ask her to share with us now.
What a beautiful introduction. I'm laughing because it's been about—
You'll pay me after for that, no, Karen, that introduction?
I will.
Okay, just send me an e-transfer.
The tip will be a date, because it's been 2 years that we want to go on a date and it's not working. So let's make it happen here in front of 123 people. So I want to start with a little thought here. First of all, good evening, everyone. A few weeks ago, it was the yard site of a special, very unique rabbi. His name was Rabbi Shlomo Schwartz, known as Schwartzy. I don't know if you ever met him, if you had an image of him. He was very eccentric, the way he dressed, tie-dye t-shirts, a funny hat. And we actually call him the modern day Baal Shem Tov, because he had this unique way to connect to everyone. Now, I never met him. How did I meet him? 4 years ago, through Facebook, I learned that he passed away. And he has a very big family. I'm not sure how many children, but you know, a lot of children, and beautiful daughters that actually shared some thought during the Shloshim, and it was live, and I followed it. And I was mesmerized by the message, by the richness of his life, the fullness of his life, not only to his children, but to the whole community of the world. And I didn't know then that my own children were going to connect to him through his wife. Baruch Hashem, they're very close in Tzfat. Now, why am I talking about him, Schwartzy? Because 2 weeks ago was the yard site. They did a Zoom meeting with hundreds of people, inspiring stories, singing. And at the end, someone said, if we can resume his life, it was all about one word. And that word was, I'm going to say it in English once, and then I'll say it in French. The word is synchronicity, synchronicité, which this world just really talks to me. And I really see it like in big letters, flashing lights, because this is what life is for me. Being that I'm an only child, maybe I spend a lot of time alone, I'm an observer. I like to step back and observe what's around me. And I love to look at all the different situations and put them together. And something that I love to do, and that's one of the reasons that I like to be a little bit older, is that we can see a whole life and we can see how everything gets into places, no matter what we go through. And synchronicité is important in the whole world. And it's important to, as a personal level, my own level of synchronicité. Now we're gathered here tonight. I didn't know Maxine. I don't really have a connection with Adat. The connection that I have is that I walk, when I go to Kotsanuka, I always see the synagogue. We know that we're halfway to our, to our destination. So when Amanda proposed that project to me, she actually made that connection that she do. The project was so beautiful, I didn't even have to think twice. I said yes. And it's when I spoke to Stefanie that I started to see all the connections. One of them being that Maxine loved to unite women, inspire women through, like you all said, health and mindfulness. So obviously this is important in my life. Stefanie, you had just given birth, and I had just became a grandmother. So I could totally understand again, the joy of being a new mother, the joy and the stresses, because I saw it with my children. We forget those first weeks, how there could be very stressful. And not only that, but I was taking care of my dad And I knew that I wasn't too far from the end of his life. So all that made it that I felt at the right place. So we're here tonight, gathered together for Maxine, to honor her life, to honor what she gave us. I'm saying us because I'm part of it, that's it, forever. And I had a rabbi that always told us when we used to learn together, he would say, don't think that we're here just par hasard. Par hasard in English, if someone wants to translate for me. Yeah, I can hear you, but I hope you know what I mean. We're in Quebec. So we're here together because we are, by accident, thank you, we're united. Our souls are united. So right now, tonight, we are united by the power and the strength of Maxine, the power and the strength of the sisterhood. And we're creating something in the world with our neshama, with our neshamot, our souls, and soon with our breath, which is neshima. So before, if you want, entering into a meditation that we're going to do together, I want to share something that I read 2 weeks ago. Being a Baal Teshuvah, I love to, from time to time, read my prayers in English, even if I became religious.
I'm just going to translate, Karen. Baal Tshuva means to return back to God, return back to Judaism.
I return back to God, exactly. But I love to, sometimes again, it's a mindfulness exercise to be present in our prayers. Of course, we love to connect to the Hebrew, but when we don't understand it, it's amazing to read it. And when I read it, I think that I shared it with everyone because it's so beautiful. It's talking about certain commandments in the brachot of the morning, meaning that we repeat them every day. So those blessings, those mitzvot are important. So I'll just share some of them with you. It's, if you want to know, it's Elu Devarim. So it's the beginning of the blessings of the morning. And it says, I'm going to tell you the brachot, one of them, the mitzvot. Honoring your father and your mother. Obviously, one of the most important mitzvot, especially when you lose a parent, you realize the importance of it. And I learned after losing my dad that procuration at the bank doesn't work anymore after death. But here, honoring your parents continues to work forever. So what we're doing tonight, we are honoring, all of us, your mother. This is how I met Schwartzy, because the daughters were honoring their dad. And till today, I carry his energy without even having to meet him. Other mitzvot that were special for me. Of course, doing kind deeds, welcoming guests into our home. This is what we're doing tonight. One that was very touching, escorting a dead person to his burial. It's a mitzvah. Concentrating during prayer, meditation. Making peace between two people and between husband and wife. And before doing that, you have to bring peace to yourself. Meditation. And the one that really touched me, I find it so interesting that it's written this. Coming early to a place of Torah study in the morning and at night. Interesting. Coming early. For me, coming early is finding a special space before any action. So of course, we all know what coming early is. We all, I'm hope because I did, we all were late to an appointment or taking the plane. And sometimes the opposite, we're here 3 hours before. And we see how we react. Like Rachel said, there's a reaction when something happens to us. So here in the morning brachot, it is telling you to come early, to create that sacred space where you allow yourself to come back. In French, we say se déposer. If I translate it, it could be settling down. And this is what we're going to be doing right now, settling down. I'm going to share with you that the whole week I had, canker sores in my mouth. I still have them right now. And the whole Shabbat, I was in pain. And of course, I can procrastinate. And my kids were like, oh, poor you. And I'm like, yeah, poor me. I couldn't eat. And I'm like, how am I going to talk tonight? So I created my little meditation of creating space into my mouth. Meaning what? Meaning relaxing my jaw, relaxing my teeth and my tongue, and creating space, and visualize that space as a healing tool. So for me, this is what meditation is. It is what breathing is. It's creating a space for healing. So we're going to start. If you want, we've been sitting here for like, I don't know, 40 minutes. I like to move a little bit before doing a meditation. Why? Like this, we can really understand what it is to stop. So I invite you to get up and dance. No, I invite you to get up and just do some movement. Exactly. You can stretch your arms and do it, do it, do it. Even, you know what? Please come onto your feet. Come onto your feet. I see you, so you have to get up. Come onto your feet and stretch your body and move and embrace the world. Like if we were waking up in the morning, shake, shake, shake a little bit, and then come back to a nice seated pose and feel that sensation of coming back into that space. So I invite you to close your eyes. Not easy always. When I do this with my students, they're always like peeking with one eye, but we're adults. So close your eyes and take a moment to enter your beautiful body, your temple, your home. This is the place where only you can exist fully. So usually we start by relaxing the body. So I'm just going to go through very fast all the different parts of your body that you can relax. Try to have your feet, first of all, touching the earth. And your legs and your pelvis are the connection to the earth. So let them become very heavy and connected and rooted. And from that space of rootedness, you can inhale and lengthen your whole upper body. The upper body yearns for space. So by lengthening your upper body, you create more space for your breath to travel. So maybe we'll bring our shoulders up and back just one time, just to be aware of the space of our heart and our lungs. And feel that the crown of your head is lifted towards the sky. So your body is ready to receive a message of peace and letting go. I invite you just to breathe simply, inhaling from your nose. Some of us will maybe exhale from the nose, some of us from the mouth, whatever is more comfortable for you. And probably that you will feel some tensions. Think about my canker sores. Let them be, creating space, creating relaxation. And in that space, I want you to become your inner observer. Who am I? And maybe your first answer will be, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. No, let go of all that. Who are you within or underlying the title? Am I a happy person? Am I a deep person? A strong person? And for a moment, try to name those attributes that you are. You know, when there's a new baby that come into the world, we all say, oh, baby looks like the mother, like the father, but at the end, the baby took exactly what they needed to do, to have. And this is us right now. We have all the attributes that makes us. And I'm going to ask you to welcome not only your positive attributes, but let's say the ones that are less positive. Example, I'm a happy person, but I have a lot of sadness in me. And one cannot exist without the other. And I'm going to create the space in my body to welcome both opposite and know that I can be both at the same time. It is me. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time here to, in French, laisser tout se déposer. So settling everything down into your body. And then we're going to add maybe a little prayer or honoring of Maxine that brought health, that brought kindness, that brought connection. And much more because you know her and you can allow yourself to fill yourself up with that beautiful energy that she is and that will stay forever. Like me with my dad, like the legacy of Schwartzy. It is here forever. And to really feel that, we're going to bring one hand onto our heart and the other one on top. So both hands pressed into our heart. And embrace fully that moment. That moment is going to stay with you forever. It is part of you. Like Rachel said, we have tools that are here and so simple to use. So listen to the heartbeat. Connect to the touch of your hands. Connect to your breath. And we're going to unite all of it with one attribute of who you are. And you're going to repeat that attribute a few times. I am, let's say, happy. And again, let it just become part of the moment. And I'm going to ask you to remember that moment and make sure that you share it and that you shine with your full potential of who you are. And remember that we are alive. No matter what, we are alive. And thank you, Hashem, for that. Let's take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, you're going to release your arms and your hands to the sky. And exhale, hands all the way to your heart. You're going to bring your chin in and softly open your eyes. Come back to the colors around you. And we're done. And I want to add one thing because we all have our hands together. A hand in Hebrew is yad. And yad, the gematria, the numerical value in English, is 14. So when we unite our hands together, 14 and 14, it brings 28. 28 in Hebrew is koach. We all have strength, but we need to bring it in. So I'm just going to honor Stefanie, your mother, because I'm sure that she was a strong woman, and we should carry that strength. That's it. She's part of us forever. I finished with the shalom.
Thank you so much. You put me to sleep. I think that's the answer everyone's looking for. How we're going to fall asleep and deal with insomnia. We need to have a little meditation with Karen Gozlan. I'm very relaxed. Does anyone have any questions for Karen? You could just put on the chat box. I don't see any. Anyone?
No question, because it's all synchronicity. It's just perfect.
It's a good thing sometimes when there's no questions. It means you've covered everything. Yeah. Okay. What do you recommend to people who are facing grief and loss to heal?
Yes, so hard. I have to say that when I lost my father, Baruch Hashem, let's say that he was at an acceptable age to leave this world. And I was very lucky because I spent a lot of time with him, which helped me with the grieving. But I did think about all the people that are losing someone at an early age without any, I was prepared, if you want, without any preparation. Whatever it is, I cried a lot before because I knew it was going to happen. But I think that we have to fully live the moment. The same way that if I have sadness, it was very hard for me to accept sadness in me because I love to be happy. And when I'm sad, I have some resistance. And I had to learn to let go of that resistance. And I have to tell you that losing someone in Corona time is very different for many reasons. So you don't have as much support, let's say. So I had a lot of lonely time, but it was necessary for me to write. I write a lot about my dad, and it made me happy because I realized how much my father gave to me. And I'm telling you, I didn't live a lot with my father. My parents were divorced. He didn't live in Montreal. And the how do you say, le peu de temps, the time that I had with him became like infinite. But being in the moment and listen to, for me, I listen to shiurim, getting inspired, and not stress everything, knowing that every step is part of it. Like having a baby, you know, my daughter tells me, wow, we really forget, but at least you live it. Or giving birth, you know, being able to give birth in a full awareness of what you're doing. So when you're sad, live your sadness, be in your sadness. But support, you need support. Again, it's a long answer, but this is just a few tools.
And someone wrote here, can we do meditation sessions with her?
Always.
You're going to get very busy, Karen.
Zoom sessions, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? It's infinite. That's the beauty. We're all becoming stars.
Yes.
No choice, with great pleasure.
Yeah. I think it's also ultimately, you know, going back to what you said and what the doctor said, is just also just trusting that we have so much infinite strength as women, as Jewish people, that God give us. And I think throughout these difficult situations, whether it's grieving or losing someone or just living in the moment with COVID, we're all personally, collectively dealing with something very challenging. And just being able to tap into that inner strength and knowing we have an infinite amount of it. And we have such amazing rabbis, including Rabbi Whitman, to help us tap into it. Sometimes we don't know how to access it. Like I always say, we have this toolbox filled with unbelievable tools to help us deal with everything, whether it's psychologists, meditation, yoga instructors, rabbis, and we just need to learn how to open that toolbox for when we need it. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. So like Maxine, Marvin is a very special individual, a gentle and sensitive neshama soul, always generous and caring to those around him. I'm in awe as I listen to him sing on Facebook to his beautiful wife, keeping her memory alive in his own special way. Marvin, please share a few special words.
I want to first of all thank you, Amanda and Dr. Godman, and I forget your Karen for the meditation. I'm going to try to explain things from my perspective. so you get to understand a little bit more about me and my relationship with Maxine. For those of you who don't know, this has been a very difficult 3 months for our family as we were challenged by two losses. First, my beloved Maxine, who passed away 3 months ago, and only a few weeks ago, her beloved mother passed away as well. This is a very difficult challenge, as I mentioned, but you should understand that I've been facing difficult challenges since I was a small child. I believe it's important to share with others so you get to know a person on more of a level of who you see when you go to shul and talk to, but the whole individual. I was faced, as Dr. Goodman will understand and appreciate, with issues of obsessive compulsive disorder since I was a small child, and then I battled various times of depression. They say in life, especially in faith, that life is bashert. And when I met Maxine in the fall of 1982, although I had those challenges and I expressed it to her from the beginning so she would know openly who I was, I never want to hide anything, she took on those challenges and together we faced each of them. And when things were difficult, it was always her resilience, her strength, her determination that helped me overcome those challenges. My life was difficult in certain ways because I was never sure what and who I was. I had gone through school, I'd had my issues in school, and then I wasn't really sure as I got older what I wanted to continue to do. I eventually got a psychology degree, although it was only a bachelor's, and then started when I was 36 and already had 2 children to do a master's in education. These were pursuits that I enjoyed, but unfortunately I did not complete. Perhaps it was good in that I also had a chance to be with my beloved father, who was getting older and had his own struggles with dementia at the time, so I could help him in certain aspects of his work life and on a personal level. The other part about Bashert is not only meeting Maxine, but through going through my challenges, Maxine reached out and she found both a nutritionist and a physical trainer who worked with us named Evan Beloff. Through our training and working, I found that Evan was also an accredited documentary director. We became friends, and then I learned that he was doing a movie about cantorial music, and it was just after my beloved mother's passing, Zichron Livracha, who had been a concentration camp survivor, gone through internment camps and concentration camps, that I said, I'm interested and I'd like to see if I can help you in some way. Together, I believe we created a very interesting, both visually interesting and appealing, a film about cantors and the struggles they have, the diminishing attendance in synagogues today, and what cantors can do to evolve to meet the needs of the members of the synagogues. So perhaps certain things are bashert because Evan came into my life. Now we're doing a second film because Cantor Ben Lola was one of the esteemed cantors we worked with. I'm involved in a film about participants in a choir called the Shira Choir. A new film will be coming out in the summer of 2021, and hopefully there'll also be a premiere. I have a larger agenda to talk about people, adults with intellectual challenges, participants in a choir, what they go through and what their family members go through as well. So I say all this, I hope you understand, to explain how important Maxine was, how integral she was to my daily life. Not only were we beloved partners in everything we did, we would consult each other, but she was also very independent, that you should know. And one of the famous sayings or expressions I repeat over and over again, for the best solution to a healthy marriage, she would say, I respectfully agree to disagree. And I think it was that sense of independence and that strength and that genuine quality that everyone gravitated to. You should know that when she passed away, there were over 300 online condolences to this one individual. She was so genuine and sweet in nature. And wherever we would go, whether it was dog walkers or go away to Florida on traveling trips, she could talk to anyone in any given situation, in a store, wherever she was. And she was so genuine that unassuming. I would joke and say, you know, my wife's a reporter for a newspaper. She's a policeman. So can you answer the question? And she would laugh, but everyone was so easily adaptable to her because they felt so comfortable in her presence. So that's who she was, and that's what her legacy is. And although we've been challenged, and although this family has gone through a difficult time, it is that unique strength, both taking care of her beloved sister when she was confronted by ovarian cancer when she was 42. Together, we helped her both postoperatively and at the end of her life. And then assuming other challenges to take care of my beloved parents when they were struggling, or her parents as well. This is who and what Maxine is. So this is what I'm happy to share with you tonight. This is a legacy that will live on through all of you, through sisterhood, through all of the women she tried to revive, this important and integral institution of a synagogue, which is, to me, as being a past president, a very vital part of synagogue life, together with women of all ages committed to various activities. It is a lifeblood of any given synagogue. So with that, I want to thank all the speakers, all the people on the committee tonight. Amanda, I want to thank you all for joining and making my beautiful wife so important, so integral in my life and all of yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marvin. So now it's my honor to introduce someone who needs no introduction, the Rabbi of the Adath and spiritual leader for so many in our community, Rabbi Michael Whitman. Please go ahead.
This evening was conceived by Adath Sisterhood, a remarkable and energetic group of women who work with Maxine and who make Adath better. They are busy planning many more events with a range of scope and a level of excellence that would make Maxine proud. Please see our website for full details. This event was planned by a committee as an act of love. Stefanie Rosenblatt Bergman, Bonnie Chodas, Barbara Wenger, Marcy Whitman, and Esther Zoldan. On behalf of all of us, thank you very much. I think we all agree that this has been a meaningful and uplifting tribute to Maxine. I am so grateful to our speakers, Dr. Rachel Goodman Aspler and Karen Gozlan, for your expertise and your generosity in sharing it with us. You have truly made this event worthwhile. Thank you, Amanda Spiro, for your beautiful and sensitive moderating of this program. And thank you to Stefanie and to Marvin for sharing your heartfelt words. In referring to a person who has passed away, we use the phrase Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. This phrase is meant to be life-affirming and uplifting. It means when we remember someone, when we remember Maxine, what we remember is a blessing for us. It ennobles us. It sets a standard for us to follow, how to live better, having had Maxine in our life. Permit me to share briefly 3 features of Maxine's character that inspire me and that are worthy of being emulated by every one of us. The first is in my conversations with Maxine. She always wanted to learn, to understand. She was curious about Torah, and she was never satisfied with what she already knew. Every one of us at every level should strive, like Maxine, to study Torah, to understand what we do and why. The second feature is wherever Maxine was, she tried to make others feel welcome and included. Many of us saw this and experienced this at Kiddush at Adath. Maxine would go out of her way to engage everyone, especially someone new or someone sitting alone. Maxine is emblematic of what kind of place we want Adath to be. And every one of us should follow her lead at Adath and wherever we are. Third, a leader should be like a quarterback throwing a pass to a receiver. You don't throw where the receiver is. You throw it a little ahead to lead the receiver forward. To be a leader, you have to know and appreciate where people are. But you must want them to go further, to be better. So you throw the football just ahead, so the receiver has to move forward to catch it. Maxine did that in her leadership at Adath and in the community. She didn't want us to stand still. She always thought about where she wanted Adath to be, how she wanted us to be better. And then she worked to get us there, to lead us there. And that is a quality of leadership all of us should strive to learn from Maxine. I want to close my remarks and this program with a message for Sadie, Maxine's baby granddaughter. Sadie, as you grow up, you're going to hear a lot of stories about your grandmother, Maxine. Wonderful stories that will keep her alive in your mind. Let this program be a part of reminding you how much every one of us loves Maxine and misses her and feels blessed to have had her in our lives. I promise you, Sadie, your grandmother Maxine will be watching over you, and she will be very, very proud of you always. My friends, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Shavua Tov. Have a wonderful and meaningful week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you everyone for coming.